Hi there, 51052. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi. It's a bit weird, isn't it? We're in remote learning again. You're going to boss it. Don't worry. All you got to do is watch this video. At the end of the video, I want you to do the work. Once you've done the work, you're going to check back into me with Zoom. Okay, so it's very much say hello to me on Zoom at the start of the lesson, do the task, say goodbye to me at the end of the Zoom lesson. So it's all supported. I'm here the whole time. So if you need me, you can pause the video. You can come and say hello on Zoom. If you get to the end of the video and want to watch it again, feel free. And if you get to the end of the video, start the task and then find that there's something that really confuses you, just come back onto Zoom. I'm there the whole time. Okay, so this is just, I'm going to start with a little bit of revision because we've done quite a lot of division already. And today we're going to just do some work on written formal division, bus stop, which I know that you love. We're going to start with doing some stuff without remainders, and then we're going to build some stuff with remainders, and we're going to do decimal remainders as well. We might do some more of that tomorrow as well. So we're going to start with a problem. I'm going to disappear. I'm going to talk over the top, but my face can disappear because no one wants this in the background. Anyway, see you in a second. Okay, so we've got a problem here. There are 4,884 crayons and they come in packs of 4. Well, how many packs are there? Well, obviously we could do this. We could count up in 1, 2, 3, 4 until we get to 4,884, but that is a ridiculous waste of time, as is using dots or arrays. It's just, there's just no point. It would take far too long. So instead, what we use is a bus stop. Now, the first thing I want to do is to talk about what bus stop actually means, what you're doing and why you're doing it. Once you've understood this bit, bus stop is simple, straightforward. Can I just point out that the bus stop goes above? Some people love to do a bus stop beneath, but don't worry if you don't. Okay, so the first thing, we're trying to do 4,884 divided by 4. So what we do on a place value grid is we put 4,884 onto our place value grid. And there it is. Now, what we want to do is for each of these columns, we want to put them into groups of 4. So for each of the columns, so the thousands column, the hundreds column, the tens column, and the ones column, we're trying to put them all into groups of 4. In this instance, they're all going to fit, but they don't always. So thousands, well, that's one group of 4. So above the 4,000, we write a 1. In the hundreds column, well, we can put 2 groups of 4 there. So we put 2 groups there. And in the tens, there's 2 groups of 4. And in the ones, there's 1 group of 4. So everything fits beautifully. And we know that how many 4s make 4,884? There's 1,221. And if we look back at the question, it says there are 4,884 crayons. They come in packs of 4. How many packs are there? There is 1,221 packs of crayons. All right, next one. So here, and again, we won't have any leftovers here. There won't be any remainders. So we put our largest number onto our place value grid, 9,306. Nothing in the tens, of course. And we're going to put them all into groups of 3. So in the thousands column, there's actually enough that we can do this. We put them into groups of 3. So there are 3 groups of 3. So above the 9, we put a 3. In the hundreds column, there are there's 1 group of 3 in the hundreds column. There aren't any groups of 3 in the tens, so we put a 0. And in the ones column, there are 2 groups of 3. So we can put a 2 there. So we can say that 9,306 divided by 3 gives us 3,102. Okay, that's keeping it nice and easy. And again, we can do 4,324 divided by 2. We put the 4,324 onto our place value grid. And we then split them into groups of 2. And we can continue doing all of this. Now, we have a problem, and that problem is the hundreds. You can see that you can't put it into groups of 2. You can only put it into 1 group of 2, but there's a little bit left over. And that little bit left over, look what happens on our bus stop here. We cross off that one, and we move it across into our tens. So now, look, we've got loads. And if we look at the bus stop gets this little 1, this remainder 1. Which means that now in the tens column, because we've taken that 100 that was on its own and moved it into the tens column, we've now got 12 tens in the tens column. So how many groups of 2 can we make in that tens column? Well, we can actually make 6. So the 6 goes there. And finally, in the ones column, we've got 4 ones, which we can split into 2 groups of 2. Okay, so it's 2,162. Okay, let's do another example. 6,115 divided by 5. Well, first column, how many groups of 5 can we make? We can make one group of 5, but there's going to be something left over. So on that bus stop calculation, you write the 1 there. There's going to be 1 left over, so we're going to move it into the hundreds. And that means that in the hundreds column now, we've got the original 100 plus 10 more of them. So we've got 11 hundreds, and there's the 11 in the bus stop. And we're going to try and put those into groups of 5. Well, we've got 11 of them, so there's going to be a problem there again. There's our first group of 5, second group of 5, and another one's left over. So that 1 is going to move over into the tens column. And that means in the tens column, we've got the original 110 plus 10 more of them. So now we've got 11 tens. And look, on the bus stop, there's that 11. Now we're going to put this into groups of 5. And we already know because we did this in the last one. We've got 1 group, 2 groups, and a little one left over. So above the 11 tens, we write 2. We've got the 1 left over, the 110 left over. So we move that into the ones column. And in the ones column, we've got 5 already. And now we're going to have an extra 10. And look, there's our extra 10. So into that ones column, we now have 15 ones. And 15 ones we can actually put into groups of 5. Here's 1, 2, and 3 groups of 5. There's nothing left over, so there's no remainder. So we would put that. So that means that 6,115 divided by 5 gives us 1,223. Okay. So now what I'd like to do is we're actually going to skip that a little bit and move on to some decimals. Okay, what you might want to do now, there is a section on the task which is division where there's no remainder, and it actually says division with no remainder. You might want to do that now by pausing the video and doing it, but if you fancy just carrying on, you carry on. Okay, so now we're going to do some decimals. There's still no remainder here. We'll look at that in a second, but this is decimal. Now you'll notice on the question, the question says 3 skateboards cost £72.99. Those are very cheap skateboards. Now, I want to know how much 1 costs, sorry. So I'm going to take £72.99. I'm going to divide it by 3. You'll notice on the bus stop, I have to line up my decimal points, otherwise I come a cropper. But I do the same thing. So I'm going to do how many groups of 3 can I make from 7? Well, I can make 2. Excuse me. And when I do that, I'm actually left with 1 extra. So I'm going to push it over into the next column. How many groups of 3 can I make in 12? Well, I can make 4 groups of 3. I then go next on to my 99 So I've got how many groups of 3 can I make with 9? And how many groups of 3 can I make with the next 9? And so the answer to what does 1 skateboard cost is it costs £24.33. Okay, now the last bit. There are some missing number questions on the sheet that you need to do as well. Now, on these missing number questions, what you've got to do, you've got to try and work out how on earth do I find those missing digits? It's a bit complicated. So let's just show what you do. Well, at the moment, we know we've got 9 thousands, we've got 4 hundreds and 2 tens. We don't know anything else. We're not sure about the ones column at the moment. Now we've got to try and work out, if I start with 9 thousands and I put them into groups, how big are the groups where I get 3 of them? Okay, so let's have a think about that one. Well, I can put them into 3 groups of 3. So that tells me what I'm dividing by. It tells me what the number is on the left-hand side of the bus stop. It's called the divisor. That must be a 3 because I've divided them into groups of 3. But if we carry on now, if we go to the hundreds and say, well, okay, I'm dividing this into 3, I get 1 group of 3, but I've got 1 left over. So the 1 has to go above the 4. And then I've got my 100 that I've got to push into the tens column. And now that means I've got 12 tens. If I've got 12 tens and I want to put them into groups of 3, that's easy. It works. I can make 4 groups of 3 into 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. That goes there. And then the last bit, the bit we don't know yet, is we know that something put into groups of 3 makes 3 groups. Well, in that case, 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. So there must be 9 in the ones column. Okay, that's towards the end of your task, so don't worry if you don't get onto that bit. Give it a go there, and you might want to think about it in terms of your place value grid. If you know a better method, if you know your inverses, you could use your inverses instead. The last bit, the very last bit, is to do with remainders. Now, these are some calculations which I hope, yes, I can. I was going to try and write on. And it works exactly the same way. But what you'll find is when you get to the end, there's going to be something left over, a remainder. Okay, so we've got how many groups of 5 can I fit in 7? Well, there's 1 group of 5 and there's 2 left over. How many groups of 5 can I fit into 22? Well, that would be 4 groups and 2 remainder. How many groups of 5 can I fit into 29? I can fit 5 and there are 4 little 10s left over. How many 5s can I fit into 49? I can fit 9 5s. Well, that's 45. So I'm left with something. I'm left with 4 that I have nowhere to put. So I'm just going to put in here a little 4 left over. Now, you don't need to do this bit. This is just for my memory. So 4 are left over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out the remainder. Now, I don't want to just put R. We're in year 5. We're clever. We don't need that. We're going to work out something better. We're going to work out how to do a decimal remainder. And this is what you do. The first thing you do when you know you've got a remainder is you put a decimal point on the question and you put a decimal point on your answer. You then, because you don't have another column, you need to create a column. And to create the column, you put a 0 here. You take your 4 that was left over and you put it up here. So now we've got to work out how many groups of 5 we can make with 40 tenths. Well, if we count up in our 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, we know that we can get 8 groups of 5 into 40. And that means that the answer to 7,299 divided by 5 is 1,459.8. Okay, let's have a go at the one beneath. Let's look at this one here. So now we've got to do how many groups of 2 can I make with 7 thousandths? Well, I can make 3 groups of 2, but there will be a leftover, and that's 1. How many groups of 2 can I make with 12? I can fit exactly 6 groups, nothing left over. How many groups of 2 can I make with 9? Well, I can fit in 4 groups, but there is 1 left over. And then the final thing, how many 2s can I fit, how many groups of 2 can I make in 19? Well, I can fit 9, but there is a leftover, and that leftover is, there's going to be a 1 left over because, oh, I can't write out. There's going to be 1 left over. Now, what I do, just like I did in the one before, is I put my decimal point, I put a 0, I put a 1 in front of it. And now what I do is I say, how many 2s make 10, or how many groups of 2 can I put into 10? And that answer is 5. So the answer to how many 2s go into 7,299 is 3,649.5. Okay, what I want you to do now is have a go at doing the other 2. I will explain it in just a second, but what I want you to do is while you're watching the video, just press pause, go on to these 2 calculations, try and write them down on a piece of paper, try and work them out, pause the video, and when you're ready, I'm going to go through those answers for you. Okay, pause the video now. Okay, so let's go through them. Hope you've had a chance to have a go. So the first one is how many groups of 4 are there in 7? I can put 1 group of 4 and there's 3 left over. I can see some mini fist bumps out there. Well done. The next one, how many 4s can I fit into? How many groups of 4 can I fit into 32? I can fit exactly 8. Next one, how many 4s can I fit into 9? I can fit 2 groups, but there is going to be 1 left over. And the final one, how many 4s go into 19? It's 4 4s go into 19, but there is something left over. In fact, there's 3 left over. So I put my decimal point, I put a 0, I put my 3 there. Now we might have a longer story here. How many 4s go into 30? Well, if I count up in my 4s until I get to the one beneath 30, I get to 7, and there's still 2 left over. So what I do is I put another 0 here, I put my 2 in front of it, and now I've got how many groups of 4 can I make with 20 100ths, and that is 5. Okay, so the answer is 1824.75. If you now get it, but you didn't get it before, you might want to pause the video again and have a go at that last question with the 8 times table on it. Okay, let's go through that last question. How many 8s make 7,299? How many groups of 8? Now, this is a difficult one. How many groups of 8 can I fit into 7? Well, I can't fit any at all, but it means I haven't used them. So in that case, they're there. How many groups of 8 can I fit into 72? I can fit 9 exactly. How many groups of 8 can I fit into 9? It's 1. There's also 1 left over. So now I've got how many groups of 8 can I fit into 19? Well, I can fit 2 groups of 8, but there's actually 3 leftovers. So I'm going to do decimal point, 0. I'm going to put my 3 in front of it. All right, let's keep going. How many 8s go into 30? How many groups of 8 fit into 30? Well, I know that there are going to be 3. And that gives me 24, which means I've actually got quite a lot left. I've got another 6 leftovers. How many 8s make 60? Well, I know that 7 8s are 56. That's the closest I can get. So that means I've got 4 left over. And again, I do one more. How many groups of 8 can I fit into 40? I can fit 5 exactly. And because there's not exactly, there's no remainder left over, which means that the answer is 912.375. Goodness gracious me, that was hard. But this is only the end of the task. So if all the rest of the task is about whole numbers with no remainder, if you feel like this is too difficult, you can leave that section and can just do the bit which is whole numbers. But I'd love for some people to push themselves onto the remainder section at the end. Okay, have a go. Well done, guys. And I'll speak to you at the end of the lesson. Feel free to drop into Zoom if you need me.